Hello, lovely people. I hope you are having a wonderful day today. It is freezing cold here, but thank the Lord for heat. I am sitting in my car and I had to move places. As you notice, the background behind me has changed. My neighbor has been doing work on his house, so it's been a bit distracting, and I need to make sure that I'm not getting distracted because then it's going to really show in my video. Luckily, there is nobody out here as of now, so hopefully I can keep my concentration a little better. But today we're going to be reading 1 Kings 17, 8 through 24, or is it 8 through 25? 8 through 24. I'm going to get into this and then I'm going to tell you what I want to talk about today, because I believe this is very important, and I prayed that God would send the right people here who need to hear this message today. So if you are here, I prayed for you. And the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, Arise, get thee to Zarephath, which belongeth to Zidon, and dwell there. Behold, I have commanded a widow woman to sustain thee. So he arose and went to Zarephath, and when he came to the gate of the city, behold, the widow woman was gathering sticks, and he called to her and said, Fetch me, I pray thee, a little water in a vessel, that I may drink. So this woman, we know that she was a woman of faith. We've all been told this story, and when we look at these pictures that they show kids with the woman with the oil, her last bit of oil and her last bit of flour, we see this healthy woman. We see this woman who has been well fed, but I guarantee you that in reality, in real life, it wasn't like that at all. My Bible paints a entirely different picture, and I guarantee you that the people who were on Ozempic in Hollywood standing next to her, they would look overweight. Okay? She was suffering. This woman is desperate. And the picture that the Bible paints, even though it is a real event that happened in history, but the picture that it paints is that this woman is skin and bones, that she has nothing to eat, that this is her last meal. She goes and she tells Elijah that she is about to die. Now, can you imagine that you are starving? You are at the point of starvation to where you know your last meal is going to be your last meal. There's no way you're going to make it through, and you have your son. And for us moms there, we know that's not just your son, that's your baby boy, and it doesn't matter how old they are still your baby boy, and they always will be. But you know you only have enough for one meal left for you and your son. And God sends somebody else to you for you to feed them. What? Can you imagine that? I couldn't imagine. I am literally starving to death, and God sends somebody else for me to feed them. It's like, Lord, why would you do this? You know I don't have anything to give them. It's like you having a tank of gas, and you have to make this tank of gas last for a month because you're broke. You have no money coming in, and you know you have to be able to get your kids wherever they need to go. You're going to have to, make sure that they get to their bus stop on time. You're going to have to make sure that you do everything to pull this together. And God sends somebody else to you, and they say, hey, can you siphon some gas out of your tank? Well, what? I have to make this last. I have to make this last. My paycheck's not coming in until the next month, and I have one tank of gas to make last for a month. It's impossible. It is impossible, and you want me to help you. But this woman, she is given faith, a little bit of faith by Elijah. I keep getting those names mixed up. Holy Spirit, help me. She's given a little bit of faith by him, and he tells her, you will not run out of oil and you will not run out of flour, but make me a little bit of food first, and then you can go ahead and make your son and you food. Logically, it doesn't make any sense. Logically, she could say, you're crazy. You have no food for me. This is my last meal. There's no way possible that this will feed us until the drought stops, because they were in a drought. And I'm sure she tried everything. I'm sure she was desperate. I'm sure she tried to fish, and all the fish had died in the land. I'm sure she tried to hunt, and most of the animals were probably dead because of a famine going on. She was desperate, but she was just desperate enough that she said, okay, I'm not gonna look with my natural eye. I'm not going to look at what my eye is telling me. I'm not going to look at what my eyes say when everybody else says I'm crazy because this isn't going to happen. When everything else is going wrong, when it don't look like God is going to come through for me, I'm not going to look with my natural eye. I'm going to look with my spiritual eyes, and I'm not going to walk by sight. I'm going to walk by faith. And this is the reason why I bring this up today. I have seen a lot of people lately on the internet say that they don't know why God has allowed them to go through the things that they're going through, or they don't know why everybody else seems to hear from God and it seems like their prayers hit a wall. It seems like nothing is happening. But are you walking by what you see? Because a lot of times we can't explain things. We can't explain things with the naked eye. And I know people are going to say that, oh, you're saying don't use common sense. Kasey, you're going to make people think we're crazy. Well, listen, honey, I got news for you. People already think we're crazy. It's going to be a long and bumpy ride if you don't think people think we are crazy already. They already do, because a lot of things that are spiritual cannot be explained away. It can't be explained by logic. I know I'm not saying don't use logic as in don't look both ways when crossing the street. I'm saying that stop trying to explain things that God does. Sometimes it's not going to make sense. It's not going to make sense what God does because he doesn't want to share his glory with something else or somebody else. Here you are trying to say, if I do X, Y, Z, then God will bless me. Then God will do these things. But God is wanting to know, when are you going to get desperate enough that you're not going to care about what anybody else thinks? That you're not going to care if you look crazy posting videos on the internet, but you want to reach people. God, he wants you to stop looking at it and trying to say, I can do this in my own strength. But he wants you to start saying, I'm desperate and Lord, I need you. And it's funny because after this happens, she doesn't run out of oil. She doesn't run out of water. She doesn't run out of food. And something strange happens after she's going through all of this. After her first prayer gets answered, she has something strange and horrible happen. And a lot of us moms is our greatest fear in life. It's something we would never wish on anybody. We would never want to go through. Her son dies. Her son dies, but Elijah does something. He steps in and she tells him, she says, you're just here to remind me of my sins. That's the reason why you've come to slay my son, because of my past sins. And I think a lot of times as Christians, we think that God is punishing us for our past sins. And I get into this mindset too of saying, you know what, just last night I was thinking about everything that happened with my dad and telling God, you know, why can't he be here? I miss him. I miss him so much. I miss the little dad jokes that he did. I miss the things that he would just do, his quirky smile. And I hate it that he can't be here with his grandkids. And I was just telling the Lord, you know, it feels like I'm still being punished for my past sins, for the things that I did, because he's not here. And if I was just walking with the Lord more, if I was doing what I was supposed to be at that time, then things wouldn't be the way they were. But sometimes it's not God punishing us over and over for the mistakes we've made in the past. Sometimes it's natural causes, but sometimes God just needs us to cry out to him. And Elijah does this. And you know what? Sometimes it's hard to do. Sometimes it's hard to cry out to God whenever I have that feeling of, you know, missing my dad and wishing things would change and needing God to take the pain away from me. And I can't change the past. I can't change what I've done in the past. And I can't even change the future. But what I can do is I can cry out to God when those feelings arise, when I'm feeling upset and I have family, I'm waiting for them to be saved, and I'm crying out to God and asking him, please save them, because I know that only you can do it, that I don't have the strength, that I will never be able to do it on my own, because it's not me, it's all God. But Elijah, he takes the child and he cries. He cries out, and I want to read you what to cry out in Hebrew means. Because I think we see this as, when they say he cries out, we think, oh, he's just shedding a couple tears and he's sobbing like a baby. But to cry out in Hebrew is tsak, and forgive me if I said that wrong, or shava. And the meaning is a loud, urgent call for help, appeal, or summons, filled with desperation and total dependence on God. Elijah was desperate. He was desperately calling out. He was screaming out to God. He was yelling up to God, not at God, but up to God, and saying, God, why is this happening? Please restore this boy's life. Please bring him back. The Bible says that he threw his body over the boy 3 times. And I thought that was a little strange when I first read it, but now I think of if a father had seen their kid, the Lord forbid, get hit by a car, what would they do? They would run up to that child and they would hug them. They would put their body over them. They would put their arms around them, and they would beg God, please, please, please don't let this happen to my boy. Please don't let this happen to my daughter. Please let them survive this. Please let them have breath in their lungs. They would be begging to God to save this child. And that's exactly what Elijah was doing. He was hugging this child. He was holding this child. He was pleading with God, please, Lord, please bring him back to life. Please bring him back to life. And God did. And God did. And the woman told Elijah that she knows that Lord is the Lord of all lords, because of this moment. And we don't know why everything happens in this life, but I want to tell you, sometimes the things that don't get answered, the prayers that we think don't get answered, maybe aren't getting answered because we haven't gotten desperate enough and we haven't cried out to God. When is the last time you really just gave it your all in prayer and you told God about how you feel? You stopped bottling it up and you stopped trying to do it on your own strength, and you told the Lord, I'm desperate. I need this. Sometimes it's not going to make any sense. I gotta take a sip of my coffee. Sometimes it's not going to make any sense how the Lord does things, because you can't keep looking at it in the natural. Maybe you're waiting on a husband. Maybe you're waiting for a child and it don't look like it. Your eyes are telling you, I'm getting old. Your eyes are telling you, I'll never have that child, because after 30 you stop being able to be as fertile. You start losing fertility, and you, after a while, you know, you're like, I can't have a kid because I'm too old. I'm well stricken in years, just like Elizabeth. And I was actually reading this passage last night. God is so good because he knows our steps before we do. This woman that was well stricken in years, listen, she didn't think it was possible. She didn't think it was possible. She thought it could never happen to her. As a matter of fact, she told the Lord that he did this to her, and now people are going to make fun of her because she's so old. And it's going to take away her, it's going to take away people's, the way they look at her. The way they look at her as a godly woman with wisdom, that it was going to make her look foolish because she was so old. She's like, now people are going to look down on me. They're going to make fun of me. But God answered her prayer years later when it didn't look like it was even possible. But her naked eye told her, I'll never be pregnant. I'll never have a child. But guess who came out of Elizabeth? John the Baptist. And guess who John the Baptist made way for? He made way for Jesus. So he was there at the right moment when he needed to be there, when God needed him to be there. And so sometimes it's not going to make sense. We can't make sense of it, but God is waiting for that right moment. And you never know, today could be the day that changes everything. So you got to keep praying for that family that's lost. You have to keep praying for that baby that you're seeking. You have to keep praying for that husband and say, it doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm going to look to God and God's going to do it. Tinder is not going to do it. A dating profile, it's not going to do it. God is not giving anybody the glory. He wants to get the glory out of it. And he wants you to look back and say, it is only God who did this. It is not my strength. It is not anything that I've done. Only God gets the glory. And it don't matter what it looks like. It don't matter that I've been on YouTube for 3 years and my channel isn't growing. And other people, they're surpassing me. See, the devil will come in and he'll tell you, God can't use you. Look at him using all these other people. They've only been on here for 6 months and they have 100,000 subscribers. And here you are barely making waves. You're not changing anybody's life. You think God needs you? God don't need you. He's got plenty of other people to do it. Why don't you just quit? You're not good enough. You keep watching the YouTube AdSense and it's barely going up and you're thinking, well, maybe I need to go get a different job because, Lord, this isn't working for me and I'm not going to be able to do this. And if prices of things keep going up, then it's not going to work out. But the Lord is saying, seek first the kingdom and then all these things will be added to you. You're sitting there watching things go up when you should be looking at Jesus and focusing on Jesus. And I'm speaking to me, so don't think that I'm not in situations that you're in, that it's all perfect in my life and that I've never had these things happen to me, because I can tell you just a month ago I was right there with you, but the Lord had to remind me where my help comes from. And I want him to remind you through this that you have to cry out to God. There is power in crying out to God because you are a child of God and he hears your cry. And I'm not talking about just shed a couple tears. I'm talking about, are you willing to be desperate enough? Are you willing to, in desperation, do what God tells you to do, even when it doesn't make sense, when it logically doesn't make sense, when you can't explain it away? And I had somebody tell me a while back, I'll never forget this. They said everything can be explained away with science. And that is such a lie, and I want to challenge that by saying if everything can be explained away with science, then how come these scientists, they didn't know that COVID was happening? Because if they could explain what was going to happen in the future, would we not be more prepared for that thing? Some things are not just explained with science and logic because it's spiritual. And you can't explain the supernatural with the natural. And I know people are going to look at you like you're just, what you're saying is a religious psychosis, because everybody who is a Christian now, their new saying is you're under a religious psychosis. No, I'm in a relationship with Jesus Christ and he's done too much for me, and I've seen too many things that don't make sense with the naked eye to believe that scientists know everything and God knows nothing. Because guess what? God was the first scientist, okay? Everything that they have discovered, they discovered after the Bible had already written it. After God already told us. We cannot explain everything. You're not going to be able to explain everything in this life. It's not all going to make sense to you, and it's because God gets the glory. I don't know who this is for today, but maybe there is something that you're praying for. There's a family member that you're praying for to get saved. You're with me because I'm praying for family members to get saved too. Maybe you are that one praying for a child. Maybe you're that one looking for a husband. Maybe you're looking for a new job and it just seems like it's not coming. And you're watching all these people around you and it just seems like God is blessing this person and this person, and God wants to see, are you going to get bitter and resentful with those people, or are you going to be happy for them? Are you going to be happy when that person beside you, they end up getting pregnant and they say, yeah, we've been trying for years and we finally had a baby, and you're thinking, well, I've been trying for way more years than they have and I still am not seeing anything? Are you going to be happy when that other person gets that job that is fulfilling their desires and you're still waiting on God? Are you going to be happy when that person gets married that's been looking for a husband, and maybe they've only been looking for a few months and now they're already married, and you've been looking for years and you are thinking, God, have I been forgotten? No, God has not forgotten about you. Maybe he is waiting for the right timing because he doesn't want to give you something that is going to be more of a burden than a blessing. But maybe he's just waiting on you to get desperate enough to cry out and say, God, I need you. I need you to answer this prayer. Only you're able to answer it, and nobody else is going to be able to. You get the glory out of my life. The Lord is the best author, and he has an expected end for you. And we see through every chapter of the Bible, God is a good story writer. And there's been more stories that he's written that aren't even in this book, because he's writing your life right now. He's writing my life right now. But our names are written in the book of life. And as long as your name is written in the book of life, you can expect that God is going to write a glorious ending. And you got to stop looking at it as, I don't see these things coming and it's never going to happen. You have to say, I'm going to walk by faith and not by sight. I'm not going to let my eyes lie to me. I'm not going to let my eyes tell me it's never going to happen. I'm not going to let the devil get in my mind and tell me that God's forgotten about me, because he hasn't. And at the right timing, God is going to answer this prayer. And it might not be exactly how I think it's supposed to be answered, because guess what? If God wanted to bring down Burger King and give that woman Burger King, he could have done that, but he gave her a little bit of oil and a little bit of food, a little bit of flour to sustain her. Yeah, he could have brought her Chick-fil-A. I mean, the God that is above, he's seen the beginning from the end. You know, he could bring her down a platter of food. He could have sustained her much more than he did, but he gave her a little bit of oil and a little bit of flour. Why? Because she was supposed to stay dependent on him. And we don't understand why God does everything he does and why he answers the prayers the way he answers the prayers. But he is answering prayers. He is a God of answering prayers. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, why doesn't God do this, or why doesn't God do that? Why is God not going to the homeless? Why is God not feeding the families that are in need? Sometimes God sends his people to those people and they go unrecognized because they don't want the glory, they don't want the credit for it, so it goes unnoticed. But also sometimes God's people fail, and we tend to think, well, I don't have enough, but God will sustain you. And I want to ask you, for those of you who are saying that God is not answering the prayers, how many times have you passed somebody on the side of the street corner and you say, I can't give them $5 because they're going to go use it on drugs? Come on now, I'm guilty of this myself, but I know a lot of people, we have this mentality of, you know, if I give them $5, then they're just going to go get drugs. But maybe God sent you there because that was the meal that was supposed to feed them today. And you're supposed to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. He has sent you out. So the next time that you think you're lacking, turn around and bless other people. We are the hands and feet of Jesus, and we need to be strategic about how we are walking our everyday lives and asking God, what can I do to help people? How can I stand in the gap even whenever it looks like I don't have much? How can I use the little that I have? Because God is not going to give you more if you're being greedy with what you already have. He's not going to bless you more if you're already being stingy with the little bit that you have. He is going to bless the people who are generous, the people who care about other people. That's the people he's going to bless, because he wants to further the kingdom. And listen, I know that Pastor Jay told you, and I'm sorry if your name's Pastor Jay, this is not about you, but I'm sorry if Pastor Jay told you that if you send $1,000 to his church and say a little affirmation in the morning, every morning, that you're going to get all your hopes and wishes and everything's going to come true. Have you seen the Lamborghini in your driveway yet? No, I can tell you you haven't, but I guarantee you he's got 2 Lamborghinis in his driveway right now because he's profiting off of people's pain. And if that's you as a pastor, you really, really need to repent, because that is a horrible thing to do. And God has a lot to say about people who take advantage of the poor and the needy. He has a lot to say about it. But it's not about an affirmation. It's not about speaking positively. It's about being desperate and crying out to God and saying, God, I will be your hands and feet, and I am going to help people even when I'm in need. And the Lord will bless you with more, and it might not be exactly what you think it's supposed to be. It's not going to be somebody coming up to you and saying, hey, here's $500. Now, it could be. If you really need that $500 and God knows about it, somebody absolutely could. But a lot of times, the blessing's going to show up in small ways that a lot of us overlook because we think it's natural when actually it's supernatural. I seen a guy on TikTok, and he asked the Lord to feed him because he was worried about having his next meal and where his next meal was going to come from. Now, the Lord could have easily sent him some money. He could have easily sent somebody to give the man money. But the man found a carton of eggs, and it was in the snow, and most of the eggs were broken, but 2 of them were okay. And he blessed the Lord and said, you know what, the Lord gave me these 2 eggs. But a lot of times people would look at that and say, no, I got the 2 eggs. It was me. I'm the one who found that. When in actuality, it's the Lord that feeds us. It's the Lord that gives us the clothes on our back. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. And he says, to whom much is given, much is required. So I want to let you know, if you're asking for much, are you ready to carry that mantle? Are you ready to carry that burden? Because it is going to be a burden. And of course, burdens are lighter with Jesus, but we still have to be strategic about what we're asking for and know that we have to realize what we're carrying. We have to realize that everything that is given to us in this life comes with weight. And maybe the Lord hasn't blessed you yet because you're not happy about the little bit that you've been given, and he's just waiting on you to appreciate what you already have. He's waiting on you to see that your life is not in shambles like you think it is, and your cross is not that big. Your cross may look like the heaviest burden to carry. And I know you can look at me and say, well, Kasey, you got a family. Kasey, you've got a husband, you've got kids, you've got a car, you've got this, you've got that. And it's easy to look at other people and say, you know, it's easy for you to say, because what do you have to worry about? But all of us in this life, we're going to have hardships. We're going to have a burden to carry, but we need to lay it at the feet of Jesus. And we need to say, I'm going to be grateful for what I'm given. And if we keep speaking death over our lives, and we keep saying, and this is not a prosperity preaching, this is not me saying that you need to speak positive affirmations over yourself every morning. And even, you know, if you have cancer, if you have a deathly illness, you have to say, I don't have this, and be in total denial. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that we have to give all the glory to God, no matter what is going on in this life, and say, even if it looks like this prayer isn't getting answered right now, Lord, I trust in you. And I'm going to wake up, and I'm not going to let the enemy know that these things are bothering me. And I'm not going to say, woe is me, pitiful me, and just have this mentality of nothing ever is going to work out in my life. I'm going to say that the Lord will feed me. The Lord will provide food for me. The Lord will provide clothes on my back. Just a while back, I was praying to the Lord, and I was like, Lord, I want to get rid of some things in my closet, but I don't have money to go out and buy myself a whole new wardrobe. I was like, I need to get rid of these things, because every time I look at them, it's making me feel sick. And I'm just looking at stuff from the past. I'm looking at stuff that was not making me feel good about myself. And the Lord never sent somebody to give me a whole new wardrobe. The Lord never sent me somebody to give me all brand new things. But I went over to South Carolina, and my Nana, the day that I got there, she said, hey, I'm cleaning out my closet. I have a few things for you. And she ended up giving me a lot of things. So I was able to throw out the things in my closet that were making me feel bad. And that was the Lord providing. And it wasn't exactly the way I thought it was going to be. Because I thought maybe I'll be able to buy a lot of my own clothes one day and just eventually get rid of all the old stuff. But no, he sent it in a different way. But it would have been easy for me to say That wasn't God. That was just my Nana getting rid of clothes. But we need to focus on what the Lord is blessing us with rather than what is not going on in our lives. And it's so easy to focus on what is wrong and what is negative versus what God actually is doing for us. And it's weird to me that the people with the most faith are usually the people with the least amount of things. I mean, we look over in Nigeria, and these people are literally losing their lives every day for sake of Christ's name, and yet they have way more faith than most Americans do, and we can openly go to a coffee shop and read our Bible without worrying about somebody taking our lives. There they have to smuggle in Bibles like it's a drug to get it to people, because if people catch them with Bibles, they will lose their lives. We have a Nigerian pastor who comes to our church, and he will preach from time to time. And my pastor said he wanted to go over with him and minister. And the pastor told him that he can't go through customs. He has to find another way around. And he has to go on this long journey, because if they catch him there and they know that he's going to preach the gospel, they'll throw him in prison. Yet these people over there, they don't have AC most of the times. They're sitting on the floor. They don't have a big sound system. They don't have mics that they can sing with. You know, it's not cushy. It's not a cushy life, but yet they have so much faith in Christ. And they're saying, even though it don't look good, even though what we're going through is poverty, even though what we're going through is not right and not just, we're still going to serve the Lord. And I want to tell you, are you going to serve the Lord when things go rough, when things are hard, when things are tough and life doesn't seem like it's going your way? Are you still going to serve the Lord? Because if you're not, then you're only serving the Lord based off of what he does for you, but he's not a genie. You can't rub a lamp and just ask for everything you want with God. You have to say, even though this prayer is not answered right now, I'm going to walk by faith and I'm going to trust God. And even if this never gets answered, I'm still going to serve the Lord, because I know I have an expected end. And I know that what is on the other side is so much greater than what is in this life. And we're going to face persecution as Christians. We're going to face hatred. The Bible tells us that the world would hate us. And Jesus just didn't tell us that as a punchline. He didn't say that as a joke. He said it, he was serious. People are going to hate us. And this life isn't going to be easy, because it's not set up for Christians. But we got to keep going, and we got to say, no matter what happens, I cannot lose my faith. I cannot lose my faith in the Lord. And I pray that God would stir up faith in every one of you. And I pray that if you are in a desperate situation, if that prayer is not getting answered, that you would lose your pride and that you would call out to Jesus. And I pray that he would answer every need for the things you've been praying for years, for the things that look like it's not coming, for the things that the devil is telling you that the Lord has forgotten about. I pray that it would get answered. And I pray that the Lord would hear our cries. He would hear the cries of his people. I pray that this nation would turn back to God, because we need it. This world is sick. This world is sick, and it's not getting any better. And these people are doing things that the Bible said they would do. And we know we're getting close to the end days, and it's going to get harder. Life is just going to get harder because it's closer to the end, and the devil is working overtime to get as many people as he can to go with him to hell as possible. And I know some people will say that's not loving to say, but the most loving thing to do, if I actually believe there's a hell and you're going to be there for eternity if you don't accept Jesus Christ, is to tell you about it. Because if you don't accept Jesus Christ, I fully, with my whole heart, believe that you're going, and I don't want that for you. I don't want that for my worst enemy. I don't want that for anybody. So it's the most loving thing I can do to tell you that there is a hell, and that you need to keep your eyes focused on Jesus, and don't walk away and don't quit just because you don't feel something. Okay? A lot of people are saying that they're walking away from the faith right now because they don't feel something from God, that they don't feel his presence. Now's the best time to cry out to God and say, Lord, please don't let my heart get hardened. Please, Lord, help me to hang on. And when you feel like you're at the end of the rope, tie a knot so you can hang on further. so you can hang on longer, because we're almost at the end. We're almost there, and I want every single one who comes into contact with this video, I want you to be in heaven. I'm sorry about the distractions in the background, but I had to get this out. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing day, and I pray you got something from this. I pray you are greatly blessed from this channel, and I pray that God would continue to bless you. Just hang in there. Come on, we got this. You cannot walk away. You can't walk away no matter what things look like. All right, I love you. I'm out.